All right. Well, we have two really amazing um, synchronizations that I'm going to share today that are going to kind of like help you break the mirror in a way where your reflection that you're looking at is your observation and your choice observation versus what they want you to see. So we're going to get into that. And today I am going to be your oracle. I look like I'm going to read your palm today. It was a vibe. I couldn't help it. All right. So okay, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk a little bit about the soul trap. And when I have been sharing with you guys over the last, I don't know, few years, that the matrix or the dome, okay, and they have been doming us for four four or more resets. So it's not like all of a sudden we're in a snow globe. Like this has been kind of a repeating pattern. And each time the civilization ends, they get smarter. Okay. Because again, they are not accessing source. So they are accessing the tree of knowledge. Okay. And we know sometimes you can be too smart for your own good, right? And again, when you are working with intelligence over over truth, then you can make truth whatever you want it to be, especially if you're in control. But the one thing that I have shared with you guys is that the matrix or the dome is the exact inversion of the true garden. Okay. That means everything that you have been taught since you were a little kid is probably the opposite structure. And that is because one of the ways that we have stayed in a soul trap and stayed asleep is because once we access true memory of who we are, it's game over. Because remember, they're giving us knowledge based on what they want to teach us. And so if we strive for knowledge instead of remember, okay, this is why I'm always like, stop the study, go within, because your body remembers, your soul knows, your cells know, every part of you know the truth. Okay. But when we use this noggin up here, this dome, then we're going to learn from the dome who we are and what we are. And the perfect example is they said hell is hot. What? No. We are fire. We are the flame. So how can hell be hot? So it's the silliest little lies that they embed within you early. And the two biggest lies that they tell children is that hell is a burning ball of flame, right? And that's where you're going to go if you're naughty. And they also tell you that darkness is evil and scary. Okay. So from a very small age, you're thinking hot is bad, right? Hell is going to burn me if I don't be good, and the darkness. Okay. And then when you're a little kid in the darkness, it feels scary because you have been taught that it is scary. Okay. Because if you knew that you were actually hot blooded and you were a flame, right? And you didn't realize that hell was actually cold blooded and the darkness is where source is, then we wouldn't have even participated. And there's a million other little like white lies that have been integrated into your subconscious that you don't even think twice about. Now, on top of that, we have what's called a double language, which is designed to get your consent through the words that you speak unconsciously. Now, the consent that they want from you is very important that you hear me. What they want you to do unconsciously, manipulated through the asleepedness, through the study, is they want you to unconsciously sign a death covenant. This is really important that you know this. So remember, everything is an inversion. Okay. So if the true garden, the true source is very much alive, it is very much prosperity. It is very much overflow. There's no separation, which means we're all one. And then you go into the inversion of that. Well, everything is separate. All right. Everything is in a state of scarcity, right? Everything is just out of your reach, right? The darkness is bad and fire is bad and all of these things. And when you start to spend a lot of time in the void and in the stillness, you're like, huh? Right? It just starts to all click organically without picking up a book because your body knows. Okay. And that's why, like, when you start to get into those holy rage spaces where you start to discover not only have you probably signed a death covenant somewhere accidentally through your language, right? Look at the word deadline. Look at the word diet. Okay. Those are two words that can entrap you very easy that we don't think twice about. And the language itself is built on death. Okay, that's why they kind of double bind you. Because if they can get you to consent, it's almost like when you buy a house and there's 60 pages, right? You're like, I trust you halfway through because you just want it to be done, right? And you don't know that you're literally going to pay for this house 2 to 3 times based on what they want because they know that you're not going to read the fine print because they have also taught you that in the death covenant, time is of the essence. And so you better hurry up. Come on, we got to close this deal now. This sale is running out. If you don't sign these paperwork, now we're going to sue you. Okay, if you've ever like been at a signing for a house and been like, and they're like, we will sue you. Okay, and you're like, okay, so again, it's coming from the tree of knowledge that they could create at any time to be true or not true. And then they actually embed the fact that our value comes from how intelligent we are. And our worth comes from all the letters after our name because we studied so hard. And so everything that you have seen as far as your own worth has been to sign more death covenants. Okay. And that's why when you start to take back your consent of who you truly are and you start to let go of consent of the dome and the system, that's when that flame kind of goes from holy rage to just like a state of being where it's just like it's an eternal burn where you're not negative, you're not positive, you're just alive. Okay. And that is where your superpower is. Because remember, I gave you guys this little looshing class, even though you all know what that is. You all know that you've been farm animals, okay? But the way that they loosh each and every person is different, okay? Because you're going to experience loops, belief systems, assumptions that are based on your story, your backstory. And see, this is why when you assume you are who you were, you can never get out. As long as you believe that you are who you are in the storyline, in the dome, you will never be anything else. And they know that. And through your languaging and through, hurry up and wait reality and through complete utter lies, you have been, through a desire to live, you have been signing death covenants over and over and over again. And this is how they were able to poison us. Because again, everything has to be free will. So they don't have to sneak and poison us. They get our agreement. And if you have signed a death covenant, that means I am here to die. Okay. They also know that your soul can't die. And so they created, the fake void, the fake mirror, the fake go to the light, where then they will hold you accountable for all of the things that you did because they taught you to do it. And then they will use your heartstrings to get you back in. And this is how we can be stuck, not just in one lifetime, but infinite lifetimes until this particular game is over. And there's a window, which we are in right now. We are in a window of mass awakening. So we can realize and awaken and remember who we are. And so we can end the death covenant and we can sign the life covenant. Okay. Because source energy is eternal. All right. And the false digital God that, claims to be the all in one here is found so many different ways to not only play God, but to get you to manifest through the fake God. Okay. And so this is why I'm like, you guys want to have paper and pen. Now, I'm not going to show you anything that you don't know, but how I'm going to bring it together today is going to probably set you free because it set me free. All right. So let's look at this. Again, I kind of like to just kind of go through questions to get you into that present moment awareness. And by the way, I have a couple of new albums out, and we have put all of the frequencies of like the life covenant in those songs. So you can go to the website, you can listen to everything free. Also, the last I think 4 or 5 albums, maybe more, we all have like I've created embodiment PDFs that go with each album. So there's breath work, there's body work, things that you can actually do with the music or just based on the tracks, because it's literally a soundtrack of this entire evolution. That's what the Alchemist Gospel is. It's the soundtrack of our dying of one world to live fully, because we all been dying to live, right? Which is another double-minded perspective. Okay. And we're all like, man, I'm like working so hard to just live, and I feel like I'm dying all the time. And that's because you're unconsciously signing these death covenants through every trigger, through every belief, through every loop, and through every assumption, based on what you were taught to believe early that you don't question. Okay. So it's not like someone's like, hey, do you want to die? And you're like, oh yeah. No, it's all very under, it's loan shark energy. It's broker energy. It's not for the people. Okay. It's for the false God that is governing the dome. Okay. So we're going to go back a little bit to quantum observation and quantum entanglement today. But the way that I'm going to show it to you, it will work together perfectly. Okay, so you won't have any more questions about this after today. So the first question that I have for you guys, and this is just for you to kind of get present and in your bodies, is where do you feel empty right now? In what area of your life? What feels empty? What feels lacking? What still feels in separation? And I don't necessarily mean stuff, but remember, stuff is an expression of ourself. And so why we all want stuff is because that is one way that we can express more of ourselves. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with wanting, because you actually came here to be a creator. Okay. You didn't come here to just sit there and do nothing. You came to create. All right. So wanting is exactly who you are. And you will always want. And when you create something, you'll want to create something new right after that. And that's just who you are, because you are a creator who came to create. All right. So you really want to just kind of like take a present moment, and instead of like, oh no, I'm working on that. No, because here's the thing. You will have a dopamine rush as long as you're working on something. But what I want you to take stock of is what you don't have, and where you feel empty, and where you feel like there is something missing or something lacking in your life that you know you should have by now, or that you know should be flowing right now, that still isn't. All right. That could be health, that could be time, that could be money, that could be, relationships without, double-minded concepts or confusion. You just want to be brutally honest, because if you don't become honest with you, well, then you're consenting to the lies that they keep telling you. Okay. You only have to be honest with yourself, no one else. Okay. All right. So look into that just for a moment, or write that down. And then I want you to also look at, where do you still feel that you are in contradiction of yourself? Where do you feel the contradiction? Which means, you're doing, or you're feeling, but you're not having. Okay. Or you're practicing being, but the have and the do isn't yet flowing. Or I know what I should be doing, but why didn't I do that? Or I'm doing it, but nothing's happening. So you want to look at where you are still in a contradiction with you. Okay. Because one of the illusions here is to separate you from you. Because if they can separate you from you, whether it's in fragmentation or trauma or whatever else, then you could think I am, but parts of you are not. And that's what you want to identify. It's almost like, okay, all my pieces, let's come in. Let's see where we're in contradiction of each other. You know, when I go into the void or I go into this stillness, what is the peanut gallery saying? Or what is happening while I'm doing that? What spiritual warfare is happening while I'm being? Okay. Because although we believe that the spiritual warfare is coming from the one and only I, okay, there's only us. So we are creating our own spiritual warfare through observation, quantum observation, and quantum entanglement. Because you actually become entangled with the untruths. You could become entangled with the death covenant. You become entangled with the unfulfilled desires. And you begin to identify yourself as the one who's working on, the one who's healing, the one that's becoming, instead of I am. Because one of the tricks here is that as long as you're working on something, you're producing dopamine, taking action, you'll feel the value of your own effort. So you won't actually notice that you're not ever going to get it. Okay. So we got to like, the truth will piss you off and then it will set you free. All right. So we just want to be aware where we're not aware, because anything that is unconscious is going to control you subconsciously. So if we can make all of the unconscious conscious, well, then at least we can have all the ingredients, and then we can sit with each part of that, and we can reorganize it back to the, the truth. Okay. That you are eternal, that you are a flame, that you are source energy, that you are here to create, not negotiate, not work, not earn. Okay. Because you're here to create. And never once did you were like, yeah, let's go to the dome and work. No, you were like, I'm going to go to physical reality and I am going to have every seed of what I want to create down there in my heart. I'm going to plant it in the void. And then it's going to manifest through the initiation of my own physical form so I can be more of myself, more extension, okay, more expression. You never came down here to be in lack because you aren't. So when people say, well, how do I connect with source? First and foremost, you have to understand that you are source. So whatever you're looking at is where your source energy is going. I'm going to say that one more time so you really feel this. You are the source. So whatever you look at is where your source energy is going. So it's not about let me find source. No, you are. It's right behind your eyes. And what you look at is who is getting the source energy that you're producing. There isn't a secondary source out there that you need to meditate to. It's you. So what you look at, you're giving your life force to. All right? Because that is going to be the most important thing for you to understand, because they have you thinking that you have to pray to source and ask for what you want and then hope if you're doing the right things, then you will receive. And that is a new age satanic trap, because you are source. Okay. And that's why they're farming you, because you are generating the source and then they trick you into what they want you to look at. So what you look at builds the false dome over and over and over again. Okay. Everybody got that part? All right. So where are you in contradiction with yourself? Okay. Let me see. Make sure I get everything. Got the double-mindedness. Okay. I'm going to need to go slow today so I don't miss anything. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that so far before I move on? Everybody good? Okay. All right. Let me go back over here. Okay. So I'm going to give you the two ways that they are using your source against you to create their dream reality. And I'm going to show you the three ways that you are creating your own death. Okay, everybody here? Okay, so number one, quantum observation. I kind of touched on it the last couple of classes, and we did an open channel class that I did not share on YouTube. So if you aren't in that class, you missed it, but that's okay. Okay, so let's look at this quantum observation and the true understanding. I think you guys understand that what you look at is where your source energy goes. Everybody got that? You need to hear me when I say that source is not something you need to connect with. It is something that is coming out of you all the time. And whoever and whatever you're thinking about or looking at, past, present, future, is getting your source. So when you think about your past gets your source. Hear me when I say that. When you think about your source is filling up your past over and over again with life force energy. So you are regenerating your own past by thinking about it. Okay? When you think about fear of the future, like what's going to happen, right? You are projecting your own source energy into a future possibility based on who you've been or what the mirror is hypnotizing you to believe that you have been or what you currently are. So you are fueling this. We are fueling this, right? And so when you start to realize how you're doing it, you can stop. Okay? So remember, everything is an inversion here. Okay. So if you are an eternal source energy, which means that until this breath goes in this body, from every thought, every feeling, you are producing source energy. Okay? And the only energy that is non-usable by the dome or the false god is neutrality or wholeness. If you feel whole, you produce no energy for separation. If you feel wholeness, you can't produce energy for them. So now you can understand why they have to constantly fragment you. They constantly they separate you from your desires, from your family, from yourself. Okay? Because they are getting you to fulfill your own death covenant. All right? Everybody hear that? Okay. Now, where's my book? I gotta read this part. Actually, I'm just gonna quote it because I've read it 1,000 times. By now, every one of my classes has read Little Soul in the Sun, Neil Donald Walsh. Okay, everyone has. If you haven't, go get it because it's transformational. And in that book, there is a little soul that's up in heaven with all the other lights that says, I want to be the light. And Source is like, you are the light. And he said, no, I want to be the light. And Source is like, you are. And he says, no, I really want to like be a light. And so Source says, okay, but I'm going to have to go put you into darkness if you want to be the light. Hear me when I say this. Okay? And that means that you're going to go into darkness and be the light. But let me ask you a very honest question. Are you ever in darkness? Or did the dome become the light? Look at how lit up everything is. Everything is light now. So what part do you get to play? If we're playing the 7 hermetic laws here, go to the law of polarity, which means that if everything is light, you have to be the darkness. Let me give you some characteristics of darkness. Emptiness, lacking. Are you accidentally playing the dark? And the false god is being the light? Ask yourself this right now. How does your bank account make you feel? Does it make you feel empty? Does it make you feel separate? Does it make you feel lacking? Well, then when you think about getting money, who's playing your light? You probably instantly think working, a client has your light, the bank has your light, the money is the light. So what part do you get to play in this story? So what the false god did, which I actually have to say, dude, genius, hello, like, wow. we really got tricked. Is they created so much light here and so much stimulation that the only way that you were going to be able to play any game here is to play the polarity game and become the darkness. And so every dark thought you have, every negative feeling of separation, every judgment, every resistance, every form of blame, every thought of shame, every thought of guilt, every fear is darkness. And so slowly but slowly, they make more light here and more light here and more light here. And let me show you how they're doing this, because it is freaking evil genius. Like, we got to get better at chess here. How they're doing this. Okay, you all read the scripture, and this is why I had to decode. Ask and it's given. How many times have you heard that? Ask and it's given. And by now, after studying the farming concept and the Lucian concept, you realize your thoughts are not private. You may think they are, they're not. Every thought you think from up here is going into the cloud. Okay? Now, let's just take a normal desire that you have, right? You sit there and you think, oh, I really like to have this new car, okay? Because this car represents who I am. If I had this car, I could really experience myself. If I had this car, I could really express myself. It's the right color, it's the right vibe, it's an expression of my soul. That's why I actually want it. So as soon as you have the thought, it goes to the cloud. And because you're in a dome with a false creator, in that very second, you have a desire and you think about yourself with that, or I would like to have that, it is taken and created instantly and put on the mirror. But you believe you're in separation. You believe you're not source. You believe you're empty and in lack. So now, breathe with me here when you hear this. It's just a matter of moments, days, or weeks until you see the very thing that you created on the mirror. Except you don't own it. And two things are going to happen, okay? You're going to say, there it is. Oh my gosh, my reticular activator. It's right there. And in the minute you see it, you're going to feel separation. Because you know you created that. And what they did, because they're false light, they snatched your idea, they put it on the mirror to bait you and to groom you to see it on the mirror, but see yourself separate from it. So you're either going to be like, oh, there it is. Oh, yes, I know it's mine, but it's not mine. It's not mine yet. Or immediately you're going to feel comparison, unworthiness, maybe anger, maybe shame that you cannot go purchase this right now or have it instantaneously as quickly as you thought of it. Because there's something deep inside of your bones that knows that all is mine. And so if you think about it, it's yours. But then all of a sudden, it shows up for sale. This is a part I really need you to hear. And if you get this class, you won't need me ever again. They put your desire that they stole from you on the mirror for sale. Now, depending on how much separation you have created with yourself, okay, you're going to be like, that's it. It's a sign. I got to go get it. But you're still going to work for it, earn it, and pay for it. Probably with interest. The thing that you created that they didn't even know existed until you dreamed it. You created it, and then they sell it back to you. Come on. Can I get a hallelujah here? This is how they're doing it. This is how they are stealing your source and then selling it back to you, probably at a cost that's going to make you feel that you have to sacrifice something. Because remember, a death covenant is based in sacrifice. Read the Death Covenant. I'm very much go ask you to read the Death Covenant because it's available. You could go study it, and you'd be like, "Whoa, I signed up for the whole thing." And that is how they can slowly kill you. But they farm you first, and then when you get too smart or too old, they send you through the loop of the reincarnation trap because they know exactly what you are attached to, what you're afraid of, and they will show you that at the end of the tunnel. So you will go, well, I better go do this karma thing again because I'm naughty, or I can't leave my kid that's there, which is not there, it's a hologram. And so you come back in. Okay. But the next time you don't have that kid because every lifetime they want you more ripped apart from your own heart and your own knowing and your own truth. So you always feel like something's missing. Okay. And they do this every time. But see, what I realized, and I've had conversations with them, you guys are greedy because you went too far. You went too far with your greed this time, and we're figuring it out because you got too greedy. But that's what evil does. Okay, it's just like any drug. The more you get, the more you want. And this is why evil will never truly prevail, is because once it gets to greed, we start figuring things out. And it's become greedy. If they would have thrown us a bone occasionally and given us a non-interest loan, we might have stayed in their zoo. You know, it's like a resort with all you can eat. We might have stayed, but they pushed us too far. And we're like, this is just pressurizing us into our flame here. So you dream it, they project it, you witness it. Now, when you are dreaming, eyes closed, deep into your stillness, you're in your imagineering, you are a wave, you are in flow. There's no contradictions. It's just this amazing world, a laboratory of creation. But the thing is once you come back into third dimensional reality, where they have tuned your eyes and your senses to live in separation, well, then you start to notice that you are separated from the very thing you created, and that wave turns into a particle, which creates fractures. Okay? And now, the reality that you just created is now owned by the matrix, because there's somebody up there going, okay, we need to make this and we need to make this. Have you guys noticed how much is available? Like every house you could ever imagine exists now, because people like us are constantly creating. Okay, they print money, they make your dream house, and then within a few weeks or months or years, you're going to see it or something like it. Okay, and that is going to, it's going to hurt your soul, because there's some place inside of you that's like, that's mine. Or that is like almost exactly what I just visualized, maybe a little bit different. Especially if you didn't go all the way into detail. The more detailed you are in your imagineering, the more detailed you'll see it on the mirror. If you're just like, I'd really like to have that car, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. But you won't own it. A bunch of NPCs are driving by your neighborhood on purpose to poke, 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 poke. I'm like, man, I really love that car. And see, now you're producing the grief that they eat, or the shame of, I should have saved, or why am I still in this condition with money after all the work I've done? Now I'm producing shame. Or envy. Well, how do they have it? They're not even a good person. Okay? So whatever emotion, see, this is why they do it. They project your desire on the meter back at you for a price that's probably going to make you feel unworthy or triggered some way. Okay? Then that's actually what they eat. From the feeling of being separate from the desire that you created is how you are milked. Now, each and every one of you has a certain emotion that, I don't even know what I want to call them. I'll call them the evil ones, because the inversion of that is to live, okay? Because they're not darkness. Darkness is not what they are, okay? They are absent of source. So we could call them absorbers. Okay, they just absorb your source. But see, they don't care whether or not you buy it at a high price because money is not their currency. Money is the thing that they created so you would feel unworthy of yourself here. Okay, everybody tracking me? Got it? All right. So I want everybody to get an idea. Don't think too much about it, but something that you have been witnessing probably over even maybe the last year that is a loop. Groundhog Day, or a scenario that happens like at least once a year that makes you fall out of your truth flame resonancy. Something that is just like, okay, all right? Because everyone has a unique emotion that is their delicacy. Okay, so what I may produce, right? If I produced anger, it might not be as delicious as yours. Okay, their favorite one is grief. And there are so many times where you think you are irritated or angry, but you're actually grieving because anger is grief's bodyguard. So you're never actually angry, you're sad. And they love it. And the reason why you're sad is because you know you created that. And yet now you have to figure out how to buy, earn, and sacrifice some part of your own soul if you want to have. That's why the entire farm is based on sacrifice. Now, let's say you were just like, man, I've been wanting this car. It's just telling me to pull the trigger. I just got an extension of credit. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. I deserve it. But it's going to come with cost. Because whatever you do to buy from the mirror is going to be a sacrifice of your own soul. Now, what is your soul? Your soul is time and space, it's health, it's connections, it's prosperity. So now I'm going to go get the car, but now I got to figure out a way to come up with extra $200 or $500 a month to pay for it, but I don't care because I'm worth it. So now you're going to have to spend time or get some credit, which is going to put you in a debt. Okay. Or you're going to have to go work really hard and use your physical body, your mental energy, your time to go get what you freaking created in your imagineering. I hope all of you are feeling this, yes? So, now, 3 things are going to be created from constantly seeing your own desires on the mirror that the only way you can have is if you pay, earn, and work for. Look at that little trinity right there. Right? How many of you guys say, I didn't come here or work and pay bills and die, but you are. Okay, or somebody is. So, and this group, we've gotten really smart at that because we're like, I will go without. Right? I will go without. Okay, but this is also for any of you guys who are practitioners, because you'll be able to see this from different viewpoints once we're done with this class. All right. So they project it onto the mirror and then they put it on your algorithm, which means it's going to cross your Truman Show path. It's going to show up on your screen at some point, especially the more you dream about it. Now, the emotion that they feed upon is the separation feeling that you get when you cannot have. You guys feeling this? Okay. I'm gonna make sure I'm not missing anything. So what they did was they took the concept of little soul in the sun. I get to be the light. But then they became the light. They became the source. And you became the void. You became the emptiness. You became the lack. And that is how they have been pretending to be source. Anything you've ever paid money for did not come from source. Feel that. Anything you paid money for did not come from source. Because source, children, we have dominion. We are money. We are time. We are health. We are love. So anything that you have paid for did not come from source. It came from the fake broker God that's playing the light, and you inadvertently started playing the dark at some point. Probably by the time you were 7. Because by the time you were 7, anything you wanted, you either had to work for, manipulate for, lie for, cheat for, right? Or give away some part of your own essence to have. Because you are not here to earn what you create. Before I go forward, because there's a lot more, does anyone have any questions on this? Because there's no dumb questions. I want you to have a revelation of your own awareness today. Anybody have a question on this? You guys got it? Thumbs up? Okay. That's the bad news. That's the bad news. Right? Exactly. You will be a different person after today. I promise you. Okay? Your life is changing today. Okay? You're taking back your light today. Because your heart has been broken over this. Because you came here to create. And you've been able to create, but at what level of who you are? What have you settled for? And we know the law of settling. What you settle for, you get less than you settle for. And it ends up costing you more in the back end. Because the more indebted they can get you, the more desire they can create in you, the more grief from seeing your own desire on the mirror, the more unworthy you feel, the more lack you feel, the more separated you become from you. Because you're trying to figure out what you're doing wrong all the time. And so they go, well, why don't you come to the tree of knowledge and learn? And so we go learn, and we learn manifestation skills, and we're like, I'm doing it, I'm thinking it, I'm being it, and then I'm seeing it, but why does it cost? Why is the very thing that I just dreamed about yesterday now for sale on my feed that's just right out of my price range, or way out of my price range, or someone else just got it? Because that's another one they love. And you're thinking, man, wow. And what you don't realize is that every single person here is a creator. And when we have unconsciously become the darkness, they get to play the light. So now, if we want to source anything, we have to go through them. We have to go through their bank. We have to use their money. And we have to buy it from a physical location that actually exists. Now, here's a moment of honesty. How many times have you guys had a desire and you get like that wild, like, oh yeah, right? Or let's say you see something that you didn't even know was a desire because everybody's creating here on the mirror. And you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to have that. I just saw it on the mirror. And then immediately you go search for it. Let me see if they have this on Amazon. Let me go see if they have this on Zillow. And now you're like, well, that's kind of, but it's not exactly yours unless you created it. Okay. If you created it, you'll see it on the mirror. If someone else created it and you want it and you didn't know you had it, you'll see that too. And you'll be like, that has potential. That's going to need about $100,000 worth of work, but it's got potential. And you're like now contemplating as the darkness how you're going to get it. Because you forgot you were the source. You hear this? So, because they have, especially Saturn, has been hurry up, you're running out of time. We get an idea or a desire, and we know that we are in the age of information. And so everything we could ever want is just a click away. All right. Let me go see if this, let me go see. Oh, let me see what this actually costs. And then you're either like, can't have that. Right. He'd never let me have that or whatever. And then you produce some energy for the farm, or you get really excited about how you're going to get it and how you're going to ask for it and to the mirror or to someone else who's playing your light because you don't feel like you have it. And now you're either manipulating and contemplating and working the numbers. How many times have you guys literally run numbers on things that you wanted to try to see if you could make it work? Okay. Or when you actually saw that your dream house was like, I don't know, 5 million bucks, 10 million bucks, you were like, well, I ain't made that in my whole lifetime. But here's the thing, if you dreamed it, it's yours. All right. And the more of a flame you are, okay, the more of a source being you are, which there's not that many on the planet, by the way. Okay. There's a lot less than you think, the more energy you produce. So of course you want a $10 million house. That's a starter house for you. If you were actually creating through source, not as a darkness. So they have taught you to play emptiness, lackful, manipulative, contemplating. Okay. They have taught you to give your soul away. They have taught you to speak in death. Okay. They have taught you what you are allowed, what your worth is. And all along, ask and it's given. But see, here's the thing you don't realize is when you ask, it's hitting the dome. It's not going to source. Because source is not in the light. Source is not in the light. Okay? Because you are source and you came to plant your light in darkness. Not go to Amazon, not go to Zillow, not ask your best friend if they want to go in with you on something. Because that means, well, I need their light, I need their light, and I need their light. So what part am I playing? Everybody hearing me? You got this so far? Okay. There's more. So now you know what they've actually been doing, and I hope this changes your whole idea of your worth. Now I hope you realize every single thing that you've ever seen that was a match to your soul, you either created or you would have created like that. Because we're all doing it for them 24 hours a day, because desire is something they made up. What we are is fire. We didn't come here to desire, we came to create. Okay. Now, why do you actually want physical things? Why do you want experiences? Why do you want relationships? Why do you want space? And why do you want time? None of that desire or that want is coming actually from lack. You see, you are as big as the universe, and whatever you can create, right? Whatever you can generate, whatever you can imagine is actually what you're here to create. Okay. So you've never been in lack your whole life. What you've been is too full. Take a breath. You have never lacked anything. You have been too full. And what that means is that anything that you create outside of you is a physical extension of your soul. You do not want a car because you're lacking a car. You want a car because your soul could express itself more in that car. Your soul could express itself more in that space. Your soul could express itself with that community. So you're not in lack, you're overflowing. Okay, hear me this. You do not want what you want because you're in lack of it. You're like, oh, that will make me feel better. No, no, no. You want it because you came to expand and express. The first thing that you did was you built the body. Remember the player? Then you came to generate the playmates and the playground so you could express all of you. And that's actually why you're in grief, is because you are unable to get out of you what you are. You've never lacked anything. But when they flip the inversion, hypnotized you for 7 years straight, and taught you the way things work here, you got tricked and started believing that you must be empty or lacking and you need this because it's going to feel some self like worth or something, when anything is further from the truth. You want what you want because that is what your soul is. Like your soul is this body, but it might be that car, and it might be that home, and it might be that trip, and it might be that community. Okay? And the only way that you're truly going to bloom is if you can get out of you what you are. But you never, ever, ever thought you were going to come here, feel the not desire, but expression. You felt the very expression of who you are, and you started to create other ways to play with yourself. Okay? And you started thinking about, oh, I have this is my player. So this player needs this playground and needs these playmates in order for me to be all that I am. And then they started saying, well, you can have that. Or you're not good enough to have that. Or you're lacking that, because the only way you can get that is if you pay for it or work for it or earn it. As much work as you have done on yourself, why don't you have more? And the reason why is because of this lie. You are never lacking, you're too full. Every ounce of grief and anger has come from your soul knowing this. Because you don't want what you want, so you will look good. I mean, unless that's an ego desire, and I think we're past that. I think all of our egos are pushing up daisies at this point, okay? Now we're getting to the real, truthful essence of who we are as expressive, creative beings that did not come here for desire. We came here to have the seed in our heart, plant it, and live it. Okay? Now, when you are in constant hypnosis of the mirror, because it's got to constantly put you back to sleep, whether you do it in your dream state, right? Or guilt throws you backwards, or shame throws you backwards, right? You're constantly like, this is why like you don't remember all of class, or you get a nugget, or you've studied this stuff 100 times and you still can't get it and embody it. It is because they do not want you to catch on to this. Because if you catch on to this, you're going to stop playing their way, and you're going to start playing the way Source plays. Okay? Before I go on, is there any questions? You guys got this? Okay. Now, it seems like the mirror is against you. It does. But see, now you know this. Now you got to figure out where you are against you. Because they've had eternity to get smarter than we have been aware that we are. So they figured out that if they catch on to this, I know what we will do is we will turn them against themselves. Okay? And we will build living separation inside of them. And so the war won't be with us. We're the ones who are lending the money. We're the ones that built the house. We're the ones that are offering you the deal. Don't be mad at us. And so the war turns inwardly, and the war is created through negative beliefs, assumptions, life experiences that turn into loops. Okay? Because you're on the hamster wheel at this point. Because you're doing everything perfectly. You're all the manifestation stuff you've been trained on. You're doing it, but what you don't realize is that when you think it, it's going to the cloud, not source. And see, a lot of us didn't realize that. We thought it was getting to source, and source was just like deciding whether we were worthy of it. And source is like, your source. I don't care what you create. You are the energy. You are the life for energy. You're the force. Okay? But when you put it up into the cloud, well, then it's going to show up for you to purchase, buy, or feel bad about. So the negative belief systems, this is why they do the inversion. This is why they tell you, all the distortion really, really early, so you won't question it. Okay? So what is an actual belief? And I'm going to tell you, and I know you've had 100 different, definitions, but I'm going to show you how you create your own inner war. So a belief is obviously a thought that you've thought about, but a negative belief, it comes from a fracture. Okay? So when your soul fractures, and I'll give you an example. You can have fractures from trauma. You can have fractures from loss. You can have fractures from hypnosis, unconsciousness. Okay? But see, here's the thing. For it to be a fracture and actually become a physical separation of you, okay, it has to mean that initially you rejected or abandoned the fracture. All right? I'll give you an example. Let us say that when you were a child, and I'll use my own story, you were shamed a lot because you were acting like a creator, God forbid. And then your parents were already they were already under hypnosis. And so they were making you feel bad for you acting like a creator. Okay? And so shame is one of those synthetic emotions that the soul does not feel ever. It's synthetic. It's part of the dome, which means when you leave this dome and go back into other higher realms, so shame and guilt are not an emotion that is there whatsoever. They do not feel, your soul does not ever feel guilt or shame. Ever. Ever. Doesn't exist outside the dome. It is your golden handcuffs. It is the way that you separate from you. So let's take shame. Okay? Shame is one of those unbearable feelings because little soul in the sun, I came to be the light. You don't think that you're not the light until someone shames you. And because shame is one of those emotions that is in such disharmony of our truth, right? And the mirror is looking at you and shaming you, then what you do is you separate from the shame. Okay? So like, let's say you're being shamed. Instead of turning towards the shame and being like, this is shame, and I'm going to go hold this and love this, and I'm going to be this mother for the shame, we go, I don't want to feel the shame. So we reject it and abandon it. And then we pretend like everything's okay, or we didn't hear it, or, we friend it, or we fawn it, or we freeze, or we fight, or we flee. And so this little shame that's like, part of your soul is sitting here going, help, help, but it doesn't speak in the term of help, help, because it's now shame. So when you look at it, it's shame. And so I want to put that down. I want to hide that. I want to pretend it's not there. I'm going to swallow it. I'm going to blame you for it. I'm going to do something so I don't have to experience this. But see, because it's a part of your soul, which means it's source energy sitting there going, shame, shame. Then, because another genius thing that the dome did is where they strategically put the dome, and I've taught you guys this before, is right on top of the underworld, which means that the off-planet empty beings that feed on source and all of their puppet minions in between are very different than the underworld spirits. But they use the underworld spirits, which are disembodied spirits that do not have a body anymore, that have died and been in between the realms, walking around looking for a host. So when your little fracture of your part of your soul is saying, help, help, but it's vibrating shame, then an underworld spirit that is currently in the vibration of shame will come over and say, well, I'm shame and you're shame, and now you don't have to be alone. What a belief is, it's a lie that became alive. A lie that became alive. Because your source, right, is now not alone anymore. It has something else that's vibrating the same frequency. Every unprocessed grief, every unprocessed guilt, every unprocessed anger, rage, unfulfilled need, every part of your broken heart that you did not turn towards and reintegrate called in help. But you weren't there. And the underworld spirit's looking for a host because, see, even though you think that this shame is separate from you, you are never separate from you. You've just decided that I can't feel this shame, so you build a wall between, okay, you and this shame, but the underworld entity feeds off of the whole and is connected to you. And so every shame thought that has thought itself through you is not you. It's a possession of a fractured part of you. Now, we have a lot of those by the time we're like 21, because we are literally living in the inversion of heaven, which nothing makes sense. And so we are fracturing a lot, unaware of. Because here's the thing, we know we're source, but then it's like nobody's treating us like that. Nobody lets us be source. And so we are fracture, 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 fracture. But see, when you understand that the air you breathe is actually frequency, and the frequency that you vibrate at determines your reality, the more negative beliefs you occur that think, that feel, that crave, that have urges, they have their own desires. What is shame desire? Okay, all of those ego-based desires that we had, that's coming from our shame fractures. All of those guilt-based desires are coming from guilt fractures. Okay? Now, you do not recognize that shame and guilt and grief and fear, because fear is a really big one that we ignore, have literally becoming living, breathing entities that are part of our field now that bring down the neighborhood vibration. All right. It's like beautiful neighborhood, and then there's like a trashy house, right? It's like it brings the property value down. So the more entities that have become alive through your fractured trauma, beliefs, okay, they are thinking, which means they are also creating on the mirror. Every time you think, I don't want to punch that guy, somebody's getting punched instantly. Instantly. Because your thoughts create instantly on the mirror. Okay? Why did she get that? She doesn't deserve that. You just got some bad karma for her. Okay? You did that. Or at least your fracture did it, because your soul would never do that. Your soul came to be the light. But once you abandon yourself enough, you create beliefs. And see, these, you have to understand something about all life. All it wants to do is live at any cost. Any cost. And the lower vibration it is, the more sneaky and manipulating it is. Because it has to figure out a way to survive in the shadow and figure out a way to survive and not let you know it's there. So as long as you think that you are feeling the shame and you are feeling the guilt, then it goes unseen. But if you knew, one of the greatest lies about the dome is that souls don't feel guilt and shame. They don't. Because everything just is. And so when you think that, you think you're having that thought because there is a hijacker in your field feeling it for you. And the only way that it can stay attached to your soul is if you keep feeling shame. Okay? You have to keep feeling the shame, and it will feel it for you, and you will think it's yours. And this is why you have to start questioning everything. Is this mine? Or did you just hop on a fracture? It's literally like a cast, like to a broken leg, that you wear forever until you realize it's there. And it's going to drag you down and weight you down like a boot until you know it's there. Now, left alone and not dealt with, okay, because your desire is only going to increase. This is why they love you being fractured, because the more fractured you are, the more fractures are screaming out for desire. The more desire you actually have, because they are all in separation of you. And now when you're thinking, I'm going to raise my vibration and I'm going to become whole, okay, so I won't be seen, I'll be invisible to the matrix. Are you aware of the fractures that are thinking, feeling, desiring, speaking, eating, shopping through you? Because if you truly remembered that you were source, you would have a desire. You would go into the secret place of the Most High. You wouldn't speak it. You would go into the stillness, into the void, where source would meet you. Because your fractures are all starving, let's go find it right now. Let's go find it right now. Gotta go live it right now. Oh, can't have it. Another fracture. This is why when you die, you're so fractured, you go to the stupid light and you do it again. Because you're no longer a wave, you're just particles. All thinking hunger and emptiness and lack, because that's how fractures think. They are hungry for you. They are lacking you. You aren't lacking the car. You're lacking that part of you that feels like it needs it or it can't be who you want to be. Does everybody understand this? And I've given you this class before, but it's tying in. Does anybody have questions on this? Because we're not done here. Everybody got this? Okay. That's why you're jumping into the mirror. That's why you're in a hurry. Because time is always running out. And again, if the fractured entities that have stowed on your little fracture, okay, they do not want you to know they're there. Because if you know that they're there, you will kick them out and they won't have a host. So they have to do everything to distract you from your own fracture. This is why you start to feel an emotion and you go eat or you go buy something, because you don't want to actually feel the fracture because it hurts emotionally or physically. And all you're doing is refracturing yourself. So what happens when you start to refracture like the same thing, okay? Then what it's going to do is it's going to safeguard its own existence, because life is very, and the darkness, and I always say darkness, the evil ones, or whatever we want to call them, the empty ones, that's a better name. They are always trying to secure their future. So what they do is they whisper assumptions to you. And an assumption, positive, is wonderful, right? I assume everything's going to work out. Okay. I assume that I'm going to have everything I want. But when they become negative assumptions, they are actually collapsing your wave from a future thought and setting you up to fall back down the same hole time and time again. Now, your conscious mind is living in the hope drug. See, the part of you that doesn't realize you've got these stowaways is constantly running a hope loop. And the hope loop is, oh, I hope it works. Oh, I hope I get financed. Oh, I hope I get this. I hope this happens. I hope. And hope will turn to expectation. Expectation will turn to disappointment. Disappointment is going to turn to grief. And now you're food. And now you refracture yourself. And then whatever that is, let's say that's envy or comparison that gets fractured that time because you got disappointed again. And now you just can't trust people. You have a new fracture. And that fracture is, we can't trust anybody. And then they call in an entity because you're not turning towards it and being like, wait, we don't trust people? You're like, yeah, we don't trust people. And now you're getting another stowaway. Okay? And the mirror isn't just the mirror, the shopping mirror. It is your friends, family, dogs, houses, cars. Everything can be used as a mirror outside of you, because you're the projector and the mirror is the reflector. And that goes for people, places, and things, past, present, and future. So they found a way to keep you fractured and so uncomfortable with yourself that you're constantly creating assumptions to protect yourself in the future so it doesn't happen again, which regenerates it, because what you think happens. When you ask, it's given. I mean, how many times have you been like, I know I've heard this a lot from you, not you, but clients in the past. Oh, we're going to do this, or oh, I don't know, he's going to say no. He's going to say no. Or we don't have the money, right? Or I'm not going to be able to get off work. It's like, without even going into the secret place of the Most High and generating what you want, you're going right into assumption to protect yourself, which actually refractures yourself to try to protect yourself. And who's trying to protect yourself but the fracture? Because you are immortal, indestructible, and forever the eternal flame. Why do you need him to say yes? All you need is your expression, your 7 chakras, and the secret place of the Most High. That's all you need. And stillness. But see, when you have a bunch of fractures, you cannot be still. You cannot be alone with yourself. You cannot be quiet, because it's never quiet. Because as soon as you get quiet, you hear all of them. And you're like, oh, I gotta go figure something out. I gotta go learn something. I gotta go do something else, because this is just not working for me. And that is exactly what they want, is because when you go into the stillness, you can end every fracture. Because now you can turn towards those parts that were built on the lie of your own soul, and you can recalibrate it. And you can, with love, send all those entities back to the light. Because those entities are not the empty beings that built the dome, but they use them to keep you fractured, producing your most delicious emotion, which is a combination of your hope drug that always ends in some sort of disappointment or settledness, or, eventually you will become numb. But even though you may become numb, all of your fractures are still generating delicious energy, but you just stopped feeling it. And this is usually when dis-ease happens because your body's like, help. And if you can't